"Please, mister, please come home with me," the little girl sobbed, clutching a small stuffed rabbit. "My mommy won't wake up, and my little brother is so cold." It was a dreary, rainy Sunday morning, one of those days Nathan Reed believed was meant for lounging on the sofa and watching football. Instead, he was at the police station, nursing his second cup of black coffee during what he thought would be a quiet shift. The rain drummed against the window panes as if demanding attention, but Nathan just smiled nonchalantly. Then the door swung open. A little girl, soaking wet with matted hair and shivering uncontrollably, burst into the station. Water dripped from her, forming a spreading puddle on the floor. She clutched a tattered doll, her heart-wrenching sobs shattering the morning's peace. He turned his head just in time to see the girl, who looked to be no older than 6, running straight towards his car. Tears streamed down her face, and her voice was caught between sobs. Her pink dress was rumpled and her hair was a mess, making it seem like she had run a very long way. Her small hands trembling clutched at his sleeve, her voice cracking with desperation. "Please, come home with me, mister." Nathan jumped to his feet, the screech of his chair against the floor echoing loudly. He knelt down, trying to speak as gently as possible. "Hey there, little one, what happened to you? Why are you out here all alone in the rain?" Laya shook her head frantically, her eyes full of urgency. She grabbed his sleeve, her tiny, icy fingers gripping the fabric tightly. "No, you have to come with me. Please, follow me home right now," she pleaded through her tears, her desperate voice piercing the afternoon stillness. Years of experience told him this wasn't just a child's tantrum. The fear in Laya's eyes was real. He tried to calm her gently. "Calm down, Laya. Tell me, what's wrong at home?" Laya tried to inhale, but it only led to more choked sobs. Mommy won't wake up," she said, each word a struggle. "I called her, I shook her, but she won't wake up." "Is your mummy sick?" Laya nodded, tears still flowing. "She's coughing a lot, and..." She hesitated, looking down at her bare feet. "And my little brother, he's cold. He's cold." When Nathan heard those 3 words, everything clicked into place. He understood that cold was not just a feeling. With a mother who was unconscious, it meant hypothermia and life-threatening danger. His entire body tensed up. Without another thought, Nathan immediately stood up. He had to go. He had to act now. Nathan did not hesitate. He grabbed his radio, reported the situation, and followed the child out into the pouring rain, unaware that what he was about to discover would haunt him for the rest of his life. "Laya, can you show me the way home?" he asked, his voice now firm and urgent. The little girl nodded frantically, a faint glimmer of hope in her eyes. The rain poured down, lashing Nathan's face painfully. The world around him was a grey haze of water. Laya buried her face in his chest, one hand pointing straight ahead. Her fragmented voice was swallowed by the wind. "This way. The shortcut is faster." Nathan ran, his heavy boots splashing through puddles. He and Laya left the well-lit main street with its neat shops and white picket fences and entered an alley he had rarely noticed before. The alley was narrow, muddy, and dark, squeezed between 2 old buildings. The strong smell of damp, rotting garbage hung in the air. This was another world, a forgotten underside of the peaceful town he always protected. The brick walls were stained with moss. Broken windows were crudely covered with cardboard. Nathan tried to make conversation to reassure the girl, and to reassure himself. "What's your brother's name, Laya?" he asked loudly, trying to be heard over the rain. "Leo," Laya replied, her voice tiny. "He's very small." "How long has your mommy been sick?" "For a long time. She's always coughing. She said she was okay, but she ate very little. She said she had to save food for Leo and me." Each of Laya's innocent words was a knife to Nathan's heart. The tragic picture of her family's life gradually emerged, even worse than he had imagined. This wasn't a sudden incident. This was a tragedy that had been silently unfolding for a long time, behind rotten walls that no one had paid attention to. "We're here," Laya said, pointing to a peeling, weathered wooden door. The door was set back from the surrounding houses and looked even more dilapidated than the others in the alley. Nathan set Laya down. The wooden door was unlocked. He pushed it gently, and it let out a long creak before opening. A cold, damp, musty blast of air hit him, carrying the distinctive smell of poverty and despair. They stepped inside. The house was dark and cold. There was no sound other than the patter of rain on the tin roof. The faint light from the doorway was just enough for Nathan to see the almost empty room, an old table, 2 rickety chairs, and a thin mattress on the floor. And on that mattress, Nathan saw Laya's mother. The woman, perhaps named Amanda, lay motionless. Her face was gaunt, her skin a terrifying grayish blue. Her lips were cracked and slightly parted, but no breath escaped. She lay there, silent and cold, a picture of complete exhaustion. Nathan rushed over, kneeling beside the woman. He placed 2 fingers on her neck, searching for a pulse. His heart seemed to stop, faint, but still there. He pulled out his radio. "Dispatch, this is Reed. I need an ambulance." "Mr. Leo is here." Laya's voice trembled from a dark corner of the room. Nathan turned to see the girl pointing to a laundry basket. He walked over. Inside the basket, lined with a few towels, was an infant. He touched the baby's cheek, ice cold. That feeling was a powerful blow. He realized the truth. A mother unconscious, a newborn slowly dying from the cold, and all of it shouldered by a 6-year-old girl. Leia had done everything she could. No longer just an officer on duty, Nathan was now their only hope. He took off his jacket, carefully picked up baby Leo, and pressed the child's cold body against his bare chest. At the same time, he radioed in, his voice urgent but full of determination. "Dispatch, this is Reed. I need an ambulance and immediate assistance at 14 Willow Alley. 1 woman is unconscious, a newborn is suffering from severe hypothermia. This is extremely critical." In that cold room, amidst the sound of rain and Laya's choked sobs, Nathan knew he had to act. The lives of 2 people depended on him. The hospital was a chaotic mix of blinding lights, squeaking wheels, and hurried voices, a complete contrast to the frightening silence of Laya's old house. Amanda and Leo were rushed into the emergency room immediately. Nathan, his shirt still damp, sat on a hard plastic chair in the waiting room. Leia was curled up beside him, wrapped in a blanket. She was no longer crying, just staring silently into space, her big eyes holding a worry that was far beyond her years. Nathan placed a cup of hot chocolate in Laya's hands. She held it tightly, as if finding a small bit of warmth amid the chaos. Nathan knew what he had to do. He pulled out his phone, his heart heavy, and called the number he hated to call the most. "Yes, Child Protective Services." "Hello, this is Officer Nathan Reed. I need to file a mandatory report." He recounted the story in a brief, professional manner, but each word was a burden. Nathan knew this was protocol, the right thing to do, but he could not help but feel like he was betraying the trust of the little girl sitting next to him. The call ended. Silence fell over them again. Time seemed to stretch on forever. Every time the emergency room door opened, both Nathan and Laya flinched, holding their breath in anticipation. Finally, a man in a white lab coat emerged. His hair was graying, his eyes tired but kind. He looked at Nathan and Laya, then walked towards them. "Officer Reed?" "Yes, that is me." Nathan stood up. "How are they, Doctor?" Dr. Evans sighed. "The boy is out of danger. You acted just in time, officer. The skin-to-skin warming is what saved his life. Another 15 minutes and it might have been too late." Nathan felt a wave of relief, but it was quickly extinguished by Dr. Evans's serious expression. "What about the mother?" Nathan asked. Dr. Evans shook his head. "Amanda's condition is very poor. Severe bilateral pneumonia, stage 3 malnutrition. Her body has almost given up. We are using high-dose antibiotics and IV fluids. But it will be a difficult fight." He paused, then looked down at Laya, who was gazing up at him with hopeful eyes. Dr. Evans knelt down. "Little girl," he said softly, "do you know that you are very brave? You are the one who saved your mother's and brother's lives." Laya said nothing, just pressed her lips together. A moment later, a kind social worker named Mrs. Miller arrived. She explained that Leia would have to go to a temporary shelter while they sorted out Amanda's situation. Leia did not resist. She seemed too exhausted to feel anything more. As Mrs. Miller took her hand to lead her away, Leia turned to look at Nathan. "Mister," she said, her voice clear, "when Mummy wakes up, can you tell her that I love her?" Something inside Nathan's chest broke. He nodded, unable to speak. He stood there, watching Laya's small figure and Mrs. Miller disappear down the hallway, feeling a terrible sense of powerlessness. 2 days later, Amanda woke up. Nathan was at the hospital when a nurse gave him the news. He walked into the hospital room. Amanda was in bed, gaunt and pale, with IV lines running all over her arms. When she saw Nathan's uniform, her eyes widened in fear. "Laya, Leo, where are my children?" she cried, her voice weak and hoarse. "They are safe," Nathan quickly reassured her. "Leo is in the pediatric ward, doing well. Laya is in a safe place." At that, Amanda burst into sobs. She did not need to ask anything more. She understood. Her greatest fear had come true. "I am sorry," she wept. "I tried. I really did try." Nathan pulled a chair up to the bedside. "Amanda, can you tell me what happened?" Between sobs, Amanda told her story. Her husband left when she was pregnant with Leo, leaving behind a pile of debt. She had no family or friends nearby, and her pride and shame kept her from asking for help. She worked odd jobs, but it was not enough. Her cough grew worse, and she began to starve herself to save food for Laya. She knew she was failing, but the fear of losing her children was greater than everything else. "I just wanted to take care of them myself," she sobbed. "I did not want anyone to take them away from me. I would rather die." Nathan listened, his heart heavy. He understood. Amanda was not an irresponsible mother. She was a warrior who had fought alone in desperation. The primal fear of losing her children had made her hide her circumstances, pushing her to the brink of death. This realization changed everything. Nathan was no longer just a police officer. He was a human being, witnessing the pain of another human being. He looked at Amanda with empathy, not judgment. He realized there were no culprits in this tragedy, only victims. And he knew he had to act to change this. A few days later, Nathan returned to the house in Willow Alley to finalize the paperwork. The sky was clear, but as he stepped into the alley, a sense of gloom still lingered. The house looked even more desolate in the sunlight, revealing all its decay. The air inside was still cold and stagnant, but now the silence held a deep sadness, a story waiting to be heard. Nathan began his work mechanically, taking photos of every corner of the room, but his mind could not escape the images of Laya and Amanda. He was standing in the very place where their tragedy had unfolded. He approached the old, rusty refrigerator in the corner of the room, and that is when he saw it. Carefully taped to the door was a slightly yellowed piece of notebook paper with the careful, childish handwriting of a child. The title read, "Laya's Chore Chart." Nathan looked at Laya's list of chores. They were not games or homework, but a schedule for caring for her mother and brother, checking on her mother's health, feeding her brother, reminding her mother to take her medicine, and even giving up her own portion of food. Each simple line of text portrayed a burden far too great for a 6-year-old girl to bear. This was not a chore chart. It was a survival schedule. Nathan looked at the paper, imagining 6-year-old Laya diligently carrying out these tasks every day, just to keep her small world from falling apart. Nathan found a small notebook on the table, inside of which were Laya's simple writings. It was a heartbreaking series of notes about her mother's decline. From the persistent coughing, to the skipping of meals, to the silent tears, Nathan realized Laya had been trying to hide the truth, carrying a secret far too big for her age. He felt something urge him to look beneath the thin mattress where Amanda had been lying. He knelt down, lifting the mattress, and there, in the dark corner, was the final discovery, the one that completely shattered his professional facade. He knelt down, lifted the mattress, and found the final discovery. In an old jam jar, there were a few coins. Taped to the outside of the jar, in scrawled red handwriting, were the words, "For Mummy's medicine." Every coin, every word, was an indictment of the desperation and boundless love of a 6-year-old girl. Nathan stared at the jar, picturing Laya carefully gathering each coin, saving them with the naive hope that this small amount of money could buy a miracle. This was not just money. It was love, hope, and sacrifice measured in coins. He could not hold back any longer. The tough police officer, who had witnessed so many tragedies, now broke down. All of this evidence redefined the meaning of courage. Nathan realized Laya's running for help was not a solitary act. It was the final step in a long series of extraordinary efforts the little girl had made, all for an boundless love. He knew that Laya's story could not remain buried in a case file. He realized this tragedy needed to become an inspiring story. Laya did not deserve to be forgotten. She deserved to be known by the world. Nathan could not keep this story to himself. It was too powerful, too important. The next day, he presented the entire case to his superior, Captain Miller, a man nearing retirement with grey hair and a kind heart. Nathan did not just report the facts. He told the story, placing on the table photos of the chore chart and the coin jar. Captain Miller listened in silence, his eyes welling up with tears when the story ended. "You did the right thing, Reed," he said, his voice hoarse. "This story needs to be heard." Knowing that an official report would get lost in paperwork, Nathan did something he rarely did. He called Sarah Jenkins, a local reporter he trusted. He was not looking for fame for himself or the police department. He just wanted to help a family on the brink of collapse. He told her everything, emphasizing Laya's incredible bravery. Sarah's article was published on the front page of the local newspaper the next day, with the headline, "6-year-old girl saves her family with a jar of coins and endless love." The story exploded. It was more than just a news report. It became a phenomenon. Like a stone dropped into a still pond, it created ripples that spread throughout the community. The phone at the police station rang off the hook. People were not calling to report crimes. They were calling to ask how they could help Laya's family. An unprecedented wave of love rose up. An elderly woman brought a hand-knitted wool blanket she had just finished for baby Leo. A group of construction workers stopped by and handed Nathan a thick envelope of cash they had collected. The local grocery store announced they would provide the family with free food for a year. Mothers in the town organized a drive for clothes, toys, and baby supplies, and the amount they received was so great it filled an entire room. The help was not just temporary. A local charity called Community Embrace stepped in. They announced they would cover all medical bills for Amanda and Leo. They found the family a clean, bright, 2-bedroom apartment in a secure complex. They even contacted a local company and arranged for a stable office job for Amanda as soon as she fully recovered. A few weeks later, Amanda, her cheeks a little rosier, was discharged from the hospital. Nathan drove her to the hospital to pick up Leo, then to the shelter to get Leia. The reunion was filled with happy tears. Laya ran into her mother's arms, and Amanda kissed her daughter's hair and the forehead of a sleeping Leo, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. Afterwards, Nathan drove them to their new home. When the door opened, Amanda was stunned. The apartment was filled with light. The living room had a comfortable sofa set. Leia's bedroom was painted a soft pink, with a new bed and overflowing with toys. Leo's crib was sturdy and safe. The kitchen was stocked with food. This was a new beginning, built from the kindness of strangers, sparked by the brave act of one little girl. This event proved something much bigger. It showed the power of community and the hidden goodness in every person. Laya's story transcended her personal tragedy. It became a catalyst, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, love and unity can create miracles. In her warm new home, Laya could finally be a child, no longer burdened by overwhelming responsibilities. She brought hope not just to her family, but to an entire town. A few months later, as Laya's family's life began to stabilize, the city mayor decided to hold a special ceremony to honor brave citizens. No one was more deserving than Laya. The ceremony took place in a large, crowded auditorium. There were city officials, police officers, members of Community Embrace, reporter Sarah Jenkins, and countless residents who had been moved by Laya's story. Laya, in a new light blue dress and with her black hair neatly braided, looked like any other 6-year-old girl. She sat in the front row with her mother Amanda and baby Leo, who was asleep in his stroller. But in her eyes, there was an indescribable calmness and wisdom. When the name Laya was called, the entire hall erupted in thunderous applause. Everyone stood up. Amanda, her eyes full of tears, gently guided her daughter toward the stage. Nathan stood at the back of the hall, arms crossed, watching silently. Laya walked onto the stage, small and shy under the lights and hundreds of eyes. The mayor, a big man with a kind smile, knelt down and placed a shiny gold medal around Laya's neck. "On behalf of the entire town," he said, "we honor your extraordinary bravery, Laya. You are a true hero." He handed Laya the microphone. The entire hall fell silent. Everyone waited for a speech, perhaps one that her mother had prepared. Laya looked at the medal on her chest, then looked down at the crowd. She lifted the microphone, her clear, simple voice echoing throughout the quiet space. "I did not save my family." A ripple of surprise spread through the hall. Laya continued, her voice still calm and steady. "I was just doing what my mommy would do for me. One sentence, just one simple sentence, but it carried the weight of 1,000 words. For a moment, the entire hall seemed to hold its breath. Then, from somewhere, there was a sniffle, then more. Leia's words, with their profound innocence and depth, touched everyone's heart. It was not modesty, it was the truth. Standing at the back of the room, Nathan felt a powerful emotion well up. He was not sad, nor was he overly happy. He was moved by a profound understanding. Leia's words were the final piece of the puzzle, revealing the core truth. Leia's bravery was not a solitary act. It was the continuation of the unconditional love and sacrifice that Amanda had given her. Leia had become the perfect reflection of her mother, and it was that reflection, that multiplied love, that had created a miracle. The applause erupted, this time louder, more resonant, not just of admiration, but of reverence. Nathan looked at Leia standing on the stage, small but great. He knew this story would be told for years to come. The story of the storm, of the muddy alley, of the jar of coins, but above all, it was the story of a great mother's love, inherited by a 6-year-old daughter and transformed into action, illuminating an entire community and saving a family.